If you miss a connecting flight, you might be protected under UK law and in many cases EU law as well. This means you may be entitled to a replacement flight at no extra cost, as well as meals and hotel accommodation, a refund, and even financial compensation. I'm Joanna at AirAdvisor, and in this video, I'm going to explain your rights and entitlements for missed connections based on passenger rights regulations UK and EU261. If you're flying from the UK or the EU, or you're traveling with an airline based in those regions, you're protected by UK Passenger Rights Regulation UK261 and its EU counterpart EU261. When it comes to misconnections, what matters is, first, whether you reach your final destination later than planned, and two, whether the disruption was the airline's responsibility. According to the Court of Justice of the European Union in the Folkerts case C-1111 ruling, compensation rights are based on how late you arrive at your final destination, not the length of the delay on the first flight, or the fact that a connecting flight was missed. This means that you could be owed financial compensation for a missed connecting flight, even if a short delay on the first flight caused the problem. So bottom line, if you ultimately arrive 3 hours or more late at your intended destination, you could be eligible for compensation from the airline. If you missed a connecting flight, here are the steps you should take immediately. First, ask for the cause in writing, or get the airline to confirm it by message or email. Also, keep boarding passes and e-tickets along with any rebooking confirmations. Collect proof of the disruption that led to the missed connection, like photos of departure boards, screenshots from the airline app, and gate change notices. Keep all your receipts for meals, ground transport, and hotels if the airline did not provide these things. Also, note your actual arrival time at the final destination. And finally, remember to communicate with the airline in writing as much as possible. This way, you could retain a clear record of what happened, which will help your compensation claim if you decide to pursue it. So if you bought all your legs of your flight on one single ticket or itinerary, then the entire journey is protected as one booking. So if an earlier leg of your trip is delayed or cancelled, and you miss the next one, your rights under UK261 remain protected. According to the CAA, self-transfers on separate tickets are considered a passenger's own risk and are not legally protected. In other words, if you arranged your own connection by booking two completely independent flights, then the airline will treat these as two different contracts. So if the first flight is delayed and you miss the second flight, you won't have the same legal protections as you would if you had all flights on one itinerary. Now, if you had a codeshare flight, then you'll be covered under UK-EU law as long as the flights were again all part of the same booking. The difference is that you will file a claim with the airline who actually flew or was due to fly the delayed or cancelled flight, even if the ticket was sold under another airline's brand. When a missed connection is caused by a delay or cancellation on a previous leg within a single booking, you're entitled to help from your airline. According to the CAA, airlines must offer you a seat on the next available flight, rerouting at a later date that's convenient to you, or a refund for the unused portion of your ticket. So if you miss a connection on a single booking and the airline is responsible for the disruption, you have the right to be rebooked at the earliest opportunity under Article 8 of UK261. But on the other hand, if your flights were on separate tickets, or if you didn't leave enough time for clearing immigration and security, or you spent too much time in the terminal, the airline may charge you for the difference in fare, as well as change fees. But here's some good news. You don't have to wait for the next flight on the same airline. If you find another airline has an earlier available flight to your final destination, you can request rerouting on that carrier instead. However, airlines do prefer to keep passengers on their own services to reduce costs, so you may need to assert your rights and specifically mention Article 8 if they won't cooperate with you. If the airline still refuses to book you on an earlier flight with a different carrier, keep a record of your request. It's this kind of documentation that can help with a reimbursement claim if you book the earlier alternative yourself and pursue reimbursement later. So if you're stuck at the airport because of a delay or cancellation, the airline must provide you with meals and refreshments, 2 calls or emails, and hotel accommodation with transfers if an overnight stay is needed. The amount of time you have to wait to receive care and assistance depends on the distance of your flight, but the minimum threshold is 2 hours. So how much compensation can you get for a missed connection? Well, based on UK261, you may be entitled to as much as £520 in financial compensation if your journey was all on one booking. that included the misconnection, and the disruption was within the airline's control, like routine technical faults or staffing issues, and you reached your final destination at least 3 hours late. So once you cross that 3-hour late arrival threshold, the amount of compensation you receive is based on the distance of your flight. So you could get anything from 220 to 520 pounds. Now I want to talk about tight connections and the minimum connection time and how this all plays into your rights. Being protected after you miss a connection really depends on whether the connection meets the airport's minimum connection time, also known as MCT. This is the shortest officially acceptable time needed to transfer between flights at a specific airport, taking into consideration immigration, security checks, and whether your baggage is checked through. So if your entire journey was booked again on a single ticket and the connection met the MCT, you are legally protected. So even if the layover was short, the airline accepted the responsibility for the transfer when you booked your ticket. However, if you created your own connection using separate tickets and chose a layover shorter than the MCT, you are considered to have taken that risk yourself. So, in that case, the airline does not have to rebook you or provide compensation. One of the questions we get a lot is how package holidays and missed connections work together. Well, if you missed your connection and it was part of a package holiday, for example, flights and hotel booked together under one price through like a tour operator or travel company, you have extra protection under what's known as the package travel regulations. So in this situation, the package organizer, not just the airline, is responsible for making sure your holiday goes ahead as planned. According to UK consumer rules, the organizer must step in and assist you, which may include rebooking your flights, arranging alternative transport, providing extra accommodation if needed, or even adjusting the trip so it can still continue. This protection works in addition to your flight rights under UK261, so if the airline was at fault, you may still be entitled to compensation or at least duty of care from them, while the package organizer is responsible for keeping your overall holiday on track. You'll just need to go to your airline's website and complete the claim form that they provide. Be sure to upload as much supporting documentation as possible and explain your situation clearly and thoroughly. You have 6 years to file your misconnection claim in England and Wales and 5 years in Scotland. The time it takes to receive compensation for a missed connection can vary depending on the airline and whether your claim is disputed. In straightforward cases where the airline accepts responsibility, payment may be issued within a few weeks. However, if the airline delays or rejects your claim or argues that the disruption was caused by extraordinary circumstances, the process can take much longer. But you don't have to waste your time and effort doing this, because at AirAdvisor, we can act on your behalf, so you get the maximum payout without all the stress and runaround. Plus, to be honest, it's risk-free. You don't pay a fee unless we win your case. We gather all the evidence and negotiate directly with the airline, all without upfront costs. If you want to see if your flight qualifies or learn more about your rights as a passenger, just head over to AirAdvisor.com. Well, thanks for watching, and see you next time.